G'day, everyone. Welcome to another Toon podcast, Australia's top 20 football podcast worldwide. Today is going to be an absolute celebration. We're going to smile. It's going to be fantastic. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know we're going to end up in a good place, and we're still going to be as happy as when we finished it as when we started it. So before we get the intros in, I'll just encourage everyone to like our videos, comment, subscribe. If we pop up in your YouTube algorithm, give us a go. Give us a like and a comment as well, and subscribe if you like what you see. We're trying our best to increase our viewers and our members and stuff like that. So every little thumb helps, and every comment helps. And if you're on our audio platforms, every review helps as well. So, Dimmy, you're with me tonight, Jack. So are you, Dimmy? I'll start with you. You look a bit different from the first time I seen you, mate, with a shirt on. So how's your Monday been?
Fantastic, mate. As everyone's morning's been, it's been sensational, especially when got a day off as well from work today, which was fantastic. So could soak in the replay about 5 times and chill out and look forward to this podcast. But it's the glory days are coming. Let's put it that way.
The glory days are here, my friend. They're not coming, Jack. You've got the permission slip off the missus to jump on tonight. How are you, mate?
I certainly have. I wasn't even rostered on, but there was no way I was missing this. Oh my God. I'm still in shock, I think. I'm still in shock about what happened. It was 11 o'clock last night, and by 10 past 11, we were all in absolute dreamland, and it only just got better and better. So it was absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to talk about this, because this was one of the most memorable, best games that I've ever seen by Newcastle in 30 years or so. So, yeah, there was no way I was missing this. Can't wait.
Yeah. So if you've been under a rock for the last 24 hours, we are here to discuss, revel, celebrate Newcastle's 6-1 thumping off Tottenham Hotspur in front of 49,000 rabid Newcastle fans. The noise and the emotion that was sort of coming through our screens for the 90 minutes was as good as you'll probably ever see and hear if you were lucky enough to watch it on TV. Dimmy, I'll start with you, mate. We've spoken, and we're definitely not the only fan channel that, not that you should be watching any other fan channels, but if you do dabble in other things, we haven't been the only podcast to say that a team's going to cop it this year. Things have been going, and a team's going to cop it. I don't think last night was one of the ones where we thought they were going to cop it, but they copped it better than anyone else has copped it. So how do you process that when you sort of, even at halftime and it's 5-0, how do you process that?
Well, short answer, you can't, which is why you boys saw the video with me with the shirt off. That's the only thing I can think of when we're winning that well. It's been a sort of, not a trademark of mine, but historically over the years when my teams have a big win and I'm watching, obviously not in public, but at home, and we get kid off. Kid off. It was World Cup 2006 against Japan. Shirt came off, pants came off, and then I was the full Monty when we scored the third goal, and that was sensational. But thanks for the it not the best in image. Sorry everybody for that. But no, it's obviously impossible to process. It's never in your wildest dreams we're going to be 3 up in 10 minutes and 5 up in 20 minutes. So sort of it was, you have to slap yourself and pinch yourself to think, is this a real football match? Is this FIFA 23? And the graphics are just out of control and it's not a real match. It didn't feel like a real match for a while, but yeah, it's obviously very difficult to process in real time.
Yeah, and we're lucky enough that we have a lot of very tech-savvy people on our podcast, and I've been reliably informed that intro that you guys would have seen is going to be replaced by just Dimmy waving his shirt on loop with the music playing over the top. So that could be our new intro for this game. Jack, I'll come to you with this one because I think this is sort of relevant to what you'd been talking about. We were lucky enough to have Seb from Tifo Football on the preview. He's a big Spurs fan. And he warned us. He warned us that this was going to happen. He said this could get really ugly. He was 3. I think he felt he was being a bit conservative with 3 and sort of lent more towards 4. I didn't buy it. I put my hands up and I said I didn't buy it. They're 5th on the table. They can't be as bad as what he says because there's no chance they could be 5th, being as bad as they are. And we said apart from since a pre-takeover, don't tell us about our club because we know our club better than anyone. I should have taken that on board and listened about his club. Now, did you buy into Seb's sort of prediction, or were you a bit? I think you're putting a bit of mayo on this, Seb. We might win, but it's not going to be like that.
Well,
where were you?
I sent him a message at 4-0, I think it was, just saying sorry for not believing you. So I sent him a message and said, Seb, I'm sorry, I'll never not believe you again. This is ridiculous. And he just replied straight away saying, "Yeah, told you so." I think fans of their own, fans of a club will often sort of exaggerate a little bit, or they'll say we're shit and this and that. And it is kind of a self-preservation thing sometimes to say that we're going to get hammered, just in case you do. But he genuinely believed that it was going to be 3 or 4-0. He believed that. And he's not the only Spurs fan who thought that as well. So there was Tommy, who we had on last year, Spurs fan from Australia. He said it was going to be 4-0 as well. So yeah, I think you just have to listen to what fans of clubs say. Like you said, we've had people telling us for 14 years, what you're complaining about. You're in the Premier League. You shouldn't be complaining. There's always clubs worse off, and that's true. Everything's relative. I've watched Spurs a bit lately. I've watched 3 or 4 of their games recently, especially since we've been interested in their results because we're the closer to us in the table. And they are absolutely terrible to watch. They're dreadful. The system they play, the football, they're just completely reliant on their 1 or 2 world-class players that they've got up front to do something special. So I didn't think we were going to win like this. Nobody did. Like, it was only the second time I think that someone's gone into that quicker lead, in the Premier League history.
Oh, can you not?
Sorry. You've got enough stats.
I've been bombarded. I've been swimming. I've been swimming in stats all day long, and that was one of the best ones I had. And then
all right, we'll save it. You can say it
on
later
my
as well.
parade already.
I didn't think it was going to happen like that. But I did think we were going to win, but that was crazy. That was crazy. And we've never seen anything like that before. So I'm sorry to Seb. I'm sorry to Seb for not believing him. And I'm sorry to you, Keegan, for stealing your best stat.
Yes. But, yeah, you're an asshole. Anyway, Dimmy. So I think part of our, I guess, reluctance to accept the Spurs fans' point of view is because the reality is, for the last 3 games, we haven't been that great either, have we? I mean, the West Ham first half was a bit of not a shambles is probably too strong of a word, but it wasn't great, let's be honest, against a poor West Ham side. And that 3rd goal sort of opened the game up and sort of took the pressure off because they were sort of coming as we were going towards halftime, and halftime come at a good time for us. The first half of Brentford was a shambles, and the whole 90 minutes against Aston Villa wasn't great either. So our form going in wasn't great, and I think that was part of my skepticism, I guess, with the Spurs fans saying you'll take us to the cleaners because our form hadn't been great as well. But do you think the Aston Villa game was the sort of the loss that you don't need a loss ever, but was it the loss that just sharpened the knives for us for the last sort of run in towards the end of the season?
I think it'll prove to be like that. I didn't think we were horrible against West Ham. We were obviously a bit sloppy on the ball, and that's, I think, what Eddie was upset about when he was losing his marbles at 2-0. Obviously, Brentford were terrible for a half, but then we were fantastic for 20, 25 minutes. That was arguably our best 20, 25 minutes of the season as well. So
before
the Villa game was, before last night. Villa was obviously terrible, and you've just got to think, with our team, you've got to give us one mulligan and give us, look, everyone's going to have a bad day. So I put it down to a bad day, and obviously, no one's expecting 5-0 after 20 minutes, but sometimes it does help to lose and sort of sharpen the focus. It does sort of refocus minds. I think used that word in the club before, that phrase in the club before. So that could have been the case after the Villa game.
Yeah, it's just interesting that is it a common sort of theme in sports, isn't it? That if you're going really well, you need to have that loss, and I think no one really wants to lose, but I think you talk to most coaches, they get a lot more out of a loss than what they do a win. It just brings that steely resolve back, and we had been sort of trending up for a while. Results have been going our way, but I think that Aston Villa game, like you said, Dimmy, could be the best thing that happened for us in sort of 2 months' time. We'll get stuck into the lineups then. I'll bring the home team up first. There was one change. There was Aaron Gordon was dropped for Sean Longstaff. Jack, as expected, were you expecting something else? How did you where did you land when the 10 o'clock or 10 p.m. for us when the lineups dropped?
I think I thought Longstaff would come back in. He had to because he was a massive miss at Villa. And I think the only thing I thought might happen was Almiron might come in for Murphy. And I think when me and Dimmy did the preview, that's what we had. We had Miggy playing instead of Murphy. So I actually thought Wilson might get a start because he's got quite a good record against Spurs, and Isak started a lot lately. But when you're in that form, you're going to be unlucky to not start. So I think it was pretty strong team. I was pleased that Burn played as well. I thought that would happen as well. I didn't think he was going to start messing around with the defense at this stage of the season in such a big game. And you look at the bench, and you've got quality all on the bench, and you've got players who are in good form and who've been scoring goals, in Wilson and Miggy as well. So yeah, I was pretty confident with that. I thought it was pretty much as expected, and you know how this team's going to play. You know how they're going to set up. Opposition know how they're going to play. They just can't stop them.
It's like a raging tsunami when the other team have the ball. We turn it over and we just keep coming and coming and coming, and you can't stop it. You might think you can get away, but it's going to catch up with you eventually. Dimmy, were you happy with the sort of what it looked like back to the Joelinton, Joe Willock midfield left wing changing when we feel like it sort of operation that worked so well for us earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think so. Like Jack said, the only one I thought may start would be Miggy, since he's back now to seemingly full fitness. But you can't really begrudge Eddie for backing the players who've done the job for most of the season. So yeah, besides Miggy, it was pretty much as expected.
Yeah. All right. We'll bring up the visitors at the moment. I think so. Like I said, it was a Spurs side which none of their fans had any faith in at all. So we had Hugo Lloris in goal, Pedro Porro, Romero, Dyer, Perisic, Højbjerg, Sarr, Skip, Kulusevski, Kane, and Son. That looked like they reverted to a back four, which they hadn't really done before. They were 3 down before they could scratch their ass and realise what was going on. Is that, Dimmy, you're a bit more of you're a bit more across lots of other teams of what I am anyway. Is that how you thought they'd line up? Is that a good Tottenham side for what they have available at the moment?
Well, it's obviously a very good front line, and that's probably the thing that's been carrying them for a long time, considering how upset their fans have been about their structure and how they've been playing. But it was interesting that they went to a back four in this game. It was, I think someone said they hadn't played a back four for about 18 months or so. So it was definitely a massive change to make in a massive game for Spurs. Obviously, they were 3 points behind us before the game, with playing an extra game. So it was a big call to do that. And I was probably quite surprised that old mate Christian Solani, or whatever his name was, made that change pre-game.
Yeah. Jack, just one thing, looking at that lineup, obviously they've got Lloris, Dyer's an experienced player, Kane and Son speak for themselves. But do you think if you've got a player called Skip, he should automatically be the captain?
Yeah, I think that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking of it last night when I seen it. I'm like, sort of should be by sort of default that you should just get the armband because
Skip.
Yeah.
I was watching because I had the Sky coverage before the game, and the interviewed Stellini, and the interviewer guy was like, so it looks like you're going to a back four and you're going to try and match Newcastle up. And then he was like, well, that's what you think. That's your opinion. It was like, no, that is what you're trying to do, obviously.
Yeah.
And you've got two fullbacks who are actually not fullbacks at all. They're wing backs. I looked at Perisic at left back and I thought, this could go well for us. And then you look at that midfield three and you're like, they have not got a hope in hell. If we're on form here, they're not going to be able to keep the ball. We're just going to dominate them. So I think even looking at the team beforehand, you felt like obviously they've got Son and Kane, which you have to worry about, but you just think this is here for us here. Like that team is not good.
No, and it took less than 2 minutes for us to work out that no, it wasn't very good at all. So, so I've been banging the Jacob Murphy drum for probably nearly a couple of months now that he deserves a goal. I mean, his performances have been solid all year, and he's done everything except score. And yeah, within 2 minutes, he's the first one to stay in the score sheets. And it was crazy. I think Eddie had sort of subconsciously whipped the crowd up in a bit of a frenzy for this game. And I know that we're just wild when we're at home. We're wild away, but we're just like 12 times the number of wild people at home rather than away. So they were up from the go. And to get that goal within 2 minutes, Dimmy, it just when you think they couldn't go up a level, they went up a level within 2 minutes of a kickoff.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, to be fair, the seas parted when Joe Linton cut in, and it was comical defending by Romero, sort of just inviting Joe Linton to shoot. And Murphy did well. You're right. He does deserve a goal. He has, I think he must have the record of most shots hit the woodwork in the last couple of seasons. I think in the
without scoring, yeah, for sure.
Without scoring as well. And I mean, last year, no one can ever forget was it last year or the season before when Andos said, "Just put it in the net." So I don't think anyone
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So it was obviously deserving for him and the perfect start for us. Obviously the fans up and about to get an early goal. That just rolls you up even more. And we had been starting games poorly the last couple, and we had almost conceded goals from the kickoff in the last couple of games, especially against Villa and I think West Ham at the post as well.
Yeah.
In the
first couple of minutes. So yeah.
We had started pretty slowly on our last couple of away games, but at home there's no option to start slowly. So it was great to see that we got on the front foot and snagged an early one.
Yeah, and then we snagged another early one 4 minutes later, Jack. And I think there definitely was a focus to start well because it had the last 3 games we hadn't started well at all. So I definitely would have given a bit of a razz just before they went out. They would have come out. The juices, the flags are going, the music's going, everyone's up for it. Their energy levels go up, and then to see John Linton score from another tin-ass pass by Fabian Schär that sort of wiped out the whole of Tottenham Hotspur. What were you thinking after the 6th minute then?
I was already like trying to pinch myself, thinking, am I asleep here or have I fallen asleep? Because it's quite late and I've had a beer. But yeah, Schär, you did that against West Ham, didn't he? That defense splitting pass, and he did another one.
He didn't mean it though. Apparently,
he didn't mean it. Yeah, obviously it was an accident. Yeah. And you've got Joe Linton just running off the defender who he didn't know what he was doing. The defender. That's what happens when you put a wing back in a flat back 4, basically. Yeah. But the touch from Joe Linton, Jesus, it's going to be overshadowed by what else happened in this game a little bit. But
we might get to that if we get time. Yeah.
But this is Jigsaw Joe. This is Jigsaw Joe. He usually kicks it off his own head or something, you know. But
so 18 months ago,
he worked out how to score. Yeah, he's worked out how to take a ball like that, round the keeper like he's not there, and just slot it away for the second time in 3 games. And the touch.
It's like a carbon copy of the goals too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Same sort of angled run and same pass by Fab straight through on goal. It's like he just like the Monstars had taken his powers, like on Space Jam, like when he first signed. You know what I mean? Like he was playing in steel caps. He couldn't kick. He couldn't pass. He couldn't do anything. And all of a sudden, he's like the complete reverse of what he was. Like, his touch is good. He can tackle. He can dribble. Like, finish. The whole thing is just crazy. And you could see the emotion in his face when he scored and what it meant to him. And the crowd were just like living through him. And then he was giving it back to them. And we spoke about levels, Dimmy. Like, I thought it was like at 99%, but it turned out they were about 80% after the first 2 goals, because when Murphy's one went in, Jesus Christ, what was going on there?
Well, that's when the shirt came off, and that's when I was delirious. But he can hit the ball, Jacob Murphy. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, I do remember him scoring a free kick, last minute free kick against Wolves. He can shoot from long range, and if you do remember that the cup final, obviously we don't want to remember a lot of it, but he did smack a ball from about 35 yards off the post, or just wide of the post against Man United at Wembley, which was also from a similar spot. So he can hit them, and just his reaction after he scored. I mean, he just takes the piss, obviously, with his reactions most of the time, but that reaction, like, oh my God, what have I just done? We're 3-0 up. I've just scored from 35 yards.
Yeah.
That's the moment where you pinch yourself as a supporter and as a player, and just everyone connected with Newcastle. We're thinking, geez, how good are we, or how good is this going? It could not have gone any better if we dreamt it a million times. It could never have gone as good as that.
No, and he actually did say post-game, I don't know if you guys seen this on NUFC TV, that he thinks he's a really good shooter from outside, but he doesn't get the opportunities, or he doesn't have the confidence to do it. And then I suppose when you're 2-0 up and you're not even 10 minutes, you've just scored your first goal for a while, confidence is high. Like, why not pull the trigger? And I don't think anyone was expecting him. Lloris definitely wasn't expecting him to shoot. He's done the scout and went, like, his bloke's not going to shoot. If he does, this could go anywhere. And then he just sort of went, you're joking.
Shit.
You are joking. And then that was, I reckon we got to about 90% sort of feralness in the crowd, rabidness after the third one went in. And I think they were still in a state of shock, as in what's actually happening. Like, we couldn't process it on the other side of the world. I don't know how they do it inside the stadium. And then, Jack, it's taken us 22 minutes, but we'll get to this, because Joe, with his new corn dog do, was one of the most, I don't even know, I couldn't think of an adjective to describe it. What happened? What was that?
That was the best assist that I can remember a Newcastle player getting. I remember Kabai did a pass against Stoke once for Papas Cisse, and I was sitting in behind that, so I had a good angle of that. But what Willock did was Kevin De Bruyne, it was Luka Modric. Newcastle players don't do that. That's like genuine elite level, world-class football. To do that with the outside of your foot, and it went in the perfect space, and then you've got Alexander Isak, who maybe if it was a different striker, they might have missed the chance, and then that assist would have been wasted. But you just knew, you never had any doubt that he was going to get that, take a couple of touches and slot it away. And it was the whole move, like Dan Burn won the ball, and then Bruno's pass to Willock was perfect because it was perfectly weighted just ahead of him. And it just shows the confidence that he's playing with and that the whole team are playing with. The start of this game was like, but do you remember playing football in school? And if you played football in school and you're on the weaker team and the opposition is just charging at you and you just can't do anything, you just like fall over and it's just like a rout. That's what the start of this game was like. So it was like a force of nature. Like, it couldn't be controlled. It was like a tsunami, you know?
Yeah.
And this assist is like, I put on Twitter that if Kevin De Bruyne had done this would be the best assist of his career. Like, he has done it a few times. He's done it more than a few times, and that's why he's so good. But it was just absolutely out of this world. Like, to see a Newcastle player do that is like, I started welling up a little bit. Honestly, I did. I was like, I
started crying when Dimmy took his shirt off. That's just me done.
Well, I was wobbling a bit at 3-0. I was thinking, this is just bizarre. Like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And then when he did that, I was like, this isn't real. What am I actually witnessing here? And I started welling up a little bit and thinking, this is my club doing this. And I cannot believe it, because after all you've been through, after all the lack of ambition and the shit teams we've seen and the bad players and going 4-0 down to Portsmouth after 15 minutes at home, all of that stuff. And then to see us playing like this now is just so special, and it's such an amazing feeling. And that assist will live in my heart forever.
Timmy, the floor is yours.
About that assist?
Yeah, just keep
Mate,
rolling.
it was...
Look, take your shirt off now if you want. It doesn't matter. We can blur it out. It's all good.
No, I think if I take my shirt off, I think we might get a few more female listeners, to be fair. But
or maybe not. But anyway, yeah, go on.
Hey. Not go there. But no, what's back on track. No, look, if anyone other than a name with Joe Willock, if that was like Fernando Morientes or someone with a fancy name who was a world star, that would be front page news everywhere. It was a world-class pass, and obviously at 3-0, you probably got a few more liberties to try something like that. I'm not sure he'd be trying that at 0-0 or if we're 2-0 down. But the fact that he could execute that pass just shows you that Joe's got a lot more quality to show, and he hasn't shown that he can make those sort of passes. If he can add that layer to his game, then he's going to be a creative force from the midfield. I mean, it changes really a lot of what we really need in our midfield, to be honest. And like you said, like Jack said, I mean, it fell to the perfect play. I mean, big dog Isaac, he was never going to miss. He's coolly controlled it and just slotted it past Laurie. It was dreamland.
Yeah, you watch him, like, he actually doesn't break stride at all. Like that, he's bent at the sheer audacity, the outside of the foot around the defender. Actually, around two defenders, really, because Isak's got a player on his left-hand side as well. To him in the middle of the pitch without breaking stride it's sex. Like, it's unreal. You just can't, like, you can't watch it enough. I haven't been on Twitter much tonight. I've been a bit busy, so I'm not sure if the match cam's out yet or not, but I can't wait to see that and the reaction. And like, I don't think Isak could believe that he just did that either. Like, I think it looks like they've formed a really good relationship, them two. And like, they get on really well, and they've got a little American handshake thing they've got going on too now, which is cute. But I don't think he could believe it. And his performances, Willock's performances have been solid nearly all year. He has had one or two bad games, but considering some of the players that are playing in the England squad at the moment, like especially some of the Chelsea ones, I mean, if you're picking a squad, he's miles ahead of them at the moment. Like, I'm not sure when the next international window is. Hopefully not for a while yet, but he deserves a chance in the England camp. Whether or not he gets a cap or not, well, that's another thing. But he definitely has earned a chance to show his wares against the best players in England.
You don't do that and not get picked for England, basically. Like, you can't ignore that, you know?
No.
you don't do that and not get international call-up. Like, I didn't think Willock had this kind of creativity in him. I knew he was a really good player, and he's been increasingly impressive as the season has gone on, and he's got a lot of attributes, and his stats are really good. But he's mainly good at driving forward, his pace. He's good at getting into the right areas. I didn't know he was capable of that. I really didn't. We've been talking about how we've needed creativity in our team for a while to break down when teams do a low block. But if Joe Willock's going to start learning how to do that, maybe it's not quite as urgent to buy number 10 now, because it was just it was incredible.
Your low blocker need to be on the goal line if he's going to pull some shit out like that. So what? 2 minutes later, just as they'd finished showing the replays for that goal. We actually missed half the build-up of the fifth goal because they were still showing the replays of the fourth goal. The $63 million big dogs, he's in again. Longstaff with a really sort of underrated cutback in there that fed the big dog. And 5-0 in 20 minutes that's like playing FIFA on beginner, and you've been playing FIFA for 20 years. Like, I can remember, Jack, you probably can too, Dimmy. I think you're a twinkle in your daddy's eye when like FIFA 98 come out, like the World Cup game and stuff like that, Jack. Like, this is this is like you've been playing FIFA 98 World Cup and you've just got the new one and you've put it on beginner and gone Argentina and you're playing against Adelaide United. Like that's what it was like this first 20 minutes. Like it was ridiculous. And to sort of just solidify your stat stealing is what you've done for me. It was the second quickest 5-0 scoreline in 11,973 Premier League matches. So that's how rare it is. I think the quickest one was Man City in 2019 was the quickest team to 5 apart from that. And I think they might have been playing Watford, who were a pretty paltry opposition, not the team directly below them challenging for a Champions League place. Like, how you can't process that after the build-up and the trepidation, I guess, from the week before to 20 minutes into our next game, which most had dubbed the biggest game of the season for us, at least, biggest league game of the season, like not as big as the cup final, but definitely the biggest league game of the season. And after 20 minutes, you're 5-0 up. How do you process? You can't comprehend it. I think we're taking your shirt. Dimmy, was your shirt back on then, or had you just kept it off, or was it on and off for each goal? How was your shirt waving operation going there?
I had considered going again the shirts and pants option, but when I did do the first movement, and the missus did have a quiet word and said, "Look, that behaviour is just not on." So I had to sort of pull my head in, even though it was. I was saying to her, "Look, it's 11:10 on a Sunday night. I mean, Jesus Christ, no one's here. Who cares?" Yeah. But I had to pull my head in after that, so I didn't get naked again. But I wanted to be honest. It was another sexual back pass by Sean Longstaff, and I mean, I think Laurie probably should have saved it, to be fair. But
he had an injury though. That's why.
Baloney. He just waved the white. He just waved the white
ego.
flag.
Yeah, Newcastle-itis. That's what he had.
Yeah, exactly. It was it was an unbelievable moment, to be honest. Because even Isaac, if you can see the zoomed in reaction of him after the goal, he's sort of like shaking his head as well. He's like, "What on earth is going on?"
Yeah, he's actually quietly, underratedly getting up with sort of meme and GIF material. You know what like he's got the hands on the hips, he's got the hands up. Like he's never going to catch Jacob Murphy, but solid silver medalist, I think. And I'm glad you brought. I was wondering what Mrs. D was doing. Was she in bed, or was she like put your shirt on? I'm glad you clarified that. I was going to ask you that later on.
She was trying to have a relaxing bath, but after the third goal, that relaxing bath turned into a non-relaxing bath. So that was that was.
You've got to remember with Dimmy as well. It's not always obvious if he's got his shirt on or off because he's Greek, so he's got that. He's got that Dabas rug.
He's got the Persian rug, the chest pubes coming out the top of the t-shirt.
It's funny. Just going back to that goal, it says it all that was the third best assist. You know, like that was brilliant by Longstaff, and it was only the third best assist of the game.
Yeah.
And by this point, I'd genuinely started to forget the goals and what had happened when, because like I said, it was just so quick. And I was it took me until half time to remember Joe Linton's goal. So it just shows you, like, it was just like the whole thing, you couldn't process it like in real time because it was just happening so quickly. And you just didn't know what was going on. Like you knew it was good, but like I said, you thought you were in some kind of wild dream situation. So it was hard to process what was going on in front of you. So it was probably a good thing that there was a little bit of downtime after this, and we didn't score for a while.
Yeah, it was a really strange sort of last 25 minutes of the half because you're holding your breath, thinking, "Shit, are we in again? Are we going to score? Like, when's this going to end?" It was strange, but halftime come, and you felt like you could finally just exhale for a minute and just sort of try and go, what the fuck just happened then? Like, because that's all you could do. Like, yeah, I know we're good. I didn't think we were this good. I didn't think they were that bad. Can we get 10? What are we going to do? And then sort of by the time you try and land on something of all these different thoughts and emotions that have been running through your head for 45 minutes, we're on again. And you're like, oh shit, here we go. And then I sort of ridiculously thought we're getting a bit too open here to start the second half. Like, if we could score 5, why can't they score? Like, they've got England's greatest goal scorer on their side. Like, why can't they score 5? Like, and then 2 or 3 minutes after he scored, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And then I just think they just took that sting out for the next 15 minutes after that. Sort of got to a point where we said, right, we can get Bruno off, we can get Trippier off and ice them and stuff like that, which is a great luxury to have, really. But then, yeah, it was inevitable. I felt sound like Kim Jong-il on Team America trying to say inevitable. Callum Wilson comes on, and a minute later, he's on the sheets as well. Miggy, he gets another half an hour under his belt, which is great for him. But Jimmy, was 6 not enough? Were you looking for 7? Are you looking for 8? Are you at the point where, okay, 6 is enough, no one get hurt now?
Look, to be honest, I wanted at least a goal in the second half, because I thought if we'd lost the second half, I would have thought, not it's upsetting. I mean, we've won the game clearly, but it would have been a little bit of a sour taste if they'd scored 1 or even a second goal. And the 5-2 doesn't sound as good as 5-0 or a 5 or a 6-1 or even a 7. So it was good that we got that another goal and sort of just reasserted that we were the dominant team, and they weren't going to come back, but they weren't going to make it respectable. So, and it just proves, I mean, Wilson comes on minute, scores a goal. He's in fantastic form himself, and he can count himself very unlucky that he's not obviously starting, but obviously you can't drop Isak as well. He's scoring for fun. I think he's got, I don't want to steal any more of his stats, Keegs, but
no. I don't think you will. So go.
Right. I was going to say he's got, I think they showed after the game, he's got the second highest minutes per goal ratio in the Premier League, just behind the Cyclops Erling Haaland.
No, I didn't. I'm just tricking.
Okay. Right. So, so he's obviously undroppable as well. So it's a luxury now that we've got 2 quality strikers who are at the top of their game, and any given moment can score a goal. It's a fantastic luxury to have for this last 6-7 games before we break off.
And Jack, another luxury is they actually play well together. So that's they do. They're different strikers, so they do complement each other. And I know strikers are known to be the greedy, selfish type. I feel like they actually look for each other when they're playing as well. Like, they're not like, no, I'll pass it to anyone else but you because I don't want you to score because I want your place. They actually link up well. I think it's not surprising really with the squad and the mentality and the togetherness that we all have to go. We don't have it, but the players have it, and how they play with each other.
I think that's one of the advantages of having a no dickhead policy recruitment wise as well, is that you get these players who are bought into the club and to the team is king, and individuals don't matter really. Like, it's all about the performance of the team. They could play together, and maybe we don't need to change the system, so that it's probably not going to happen unless the game state, sort of leads towards it, like it has done when we've been losing or when we've needed to score goals. But they could, if they started fronting together against Southampton, it could be another cricket score, I think we could have scored more goals if we'd actually wanted to in this game, if we'd really have gone for it. I think we were conserving energy a bit after we scored the 5th goal, and that's just a smart thing to do. But like Dimmy, I'm pleased we got that goal, because 6 sounds a lot better than 5, and I didn't want to lose the second half. It's funny how your expectations and what you want changes through the middle of the game. I was a bit disappointed that Kane scored as well, because I don't like him one little bit.
I don't think any of us like him to that.
Yeah, so but I'm not surprised he did, because he always scores against us.
Yeah.
But it was just good. It was good to get that one, and it was just a procession. It was just, I mean, the fans were olaying after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they were doing it again towards the end. And with the first half as well, like they made a sub at 3-0, I think it was. So they brought Sarr off and went to the back 5, which like shows you that we were just they didn't know what bolted, mate. They didn't know what was going on. Like we were just so dominant, and the second half was a bit more calm, but that was fine. That's what it needed, and we got Trippier off, and we got Bruno off and rest some legs before the big week ahead.
Yeah, and I think just touching on sort of circling back what you said before, Jack, where it's all about the team and everyone wants the team. I still think as part of that though, everyone celebrates the individual success. So not so much the individual themselves, but everyone else is really happy for that person rather than, you know what I mean? So it's still sort of individualized, but it's everyone else talking about that individual rather than him running off and doing his own thing, a bit like Sava, if you've been watching Ted Lasso, he's sort of running his own sort of show in there. But no one's like that. Everyone's together, everyone's happy for someone else doing well. And it's probably one of the biggest signs, I guess, of the team as a whole and the squad as a whole is how happy everyone is for everyone else's success. And you don't see that at many other clubs. And with the way that they've recruited, and we're going to get to that in a minute because I think it's a very good thing to talk about after a result like this. It's really good to see. But actually, let's talk about it now. So, in my research tonight, I've sort of circled back to our first game post takeover, which was against Spurs. It was maybe 18 months ago, so around there. I'm not sure the exact date. Let's just say about 18 months ago. And we've both spent about £250 million on players. And where it seems like we're going one way and they're going the other way. And the difference between the two clubs from 18 months ago it's frightening, isn't it, Demi?
It's amazing. I mean, if you told us after that Tottenham game, even though the takeover had just happened, if you told us in April of next year, in next season, we're going to be 5-0 up after 20 minutes and just completely pull the pants of Tottenham and be third on the table and just have a sensational season, no one would have thought it. No one would have thought that basically every signing that we've made has been a home run, and every signing that we've made has improved if not the first 11, the squad overall. And like Jack said, there's a clear no dickhead policy, and everyone who's come in has bought into the club, the team, everything that Eddie Howe wants to build. And it's very rare in football that you nail every one of your signings. There's going to be one or two probably in the future that we're not going to nail, but it's quite amazing how good the strike rate has been from that point on. And that's been the key, because if, God forbid, if we didn't get Bruno or if we didn't get Botman at the start of this season, we went different routes and we may not be in this position. You got to give credit to the recruiters and to Eddie and for having this strenuous sort of checklist to make sure that we're getting the right people, not only the right players.
Yeah, and that's it, Jack. Like, imagine after that first Tottenham game, we said, right, we're going to give you both £250 million. You can spend it however you like, and we're going to play this game again in 18 months' time. There's no way that anyone would have predicted this.
No. There was a quite incredible article on The Athletic last week by Jack Pitbrook, who is the Spurs correspondent. And he was talking about how, obviously it was Spurs-centric, and he was talking about how they can't compete with Manchester City and Newcastle because we're state-backed. But, the simple response to that is that Spurs could have gone and signed Bruno. They could have signed Botman. They could have appointed Eddie. They could have appointed Eddie Howe. They didn't have to sell Trippier. So like
they could have bought Isak instead of Richarlison, for example.
Yeah, exactly, for the same money. So it's all it's all decisions that Levy has made, that club has made, that our club has made right. We're not going to, like Dimmy said, there will be misses. We're not going to keep getting it so right. But that team today had the on the pitch at one point or another was 9 players that predated the takeover. So that says it all about the job that Eddie Howe's done. I've talked about him more than enough times. I'll talk about him forever. I just love him. I think he is just the best fit for this club at this time. He's an incredible coach. To get these performances from guys like Murphy and Longstaff, who I've always backed them, but I didn't think they were going to be this good. Hands up. And I thought Joe Linton would be out on loan to Turkey or something a few years ago. And here he is. And it's all because of Eddie Howe. He's amazing. And yeah, I've got no time for people who say that, the money spent, and I just think they need to look a little bit deeper and listen to what we say, who has been there through all of it, because we know the truth about what's gone on.
Yeah, and the one of the things that probably pissed me off the most about the whole "this is what you spent," blah blah blah, is we spent that because we had to, because we never spent any money before that. So even we basically had to spend that money last January just to keep us in the league, not achieve anything else, but just we've got to stay in the league for this season, and then we can reassess in the summer what next year looks like and stuff like that. So that's not building. That's basically just trying to keep up with what everyone else had been doing for the last 6, 7, 8 years, not trying to like progress us further quicker. Like it's a basic sort of necessity that we had to. It wasn't a need. It wasn't a want. Sorry, it was a need. Like we actually needed to do that. Now,
Well, the squad last season at the start had 4 goalkeepers in. One of them was Freddie Woodman. One of them was Mark Gillespie, and one of them was Carl Darlow. So
and
we
that play games with 2 of them on the bench sometimes. Like that's how bad it was. Like we're not. This is not a hyperbole and sort of exaggerating. These are the facts. Like this is what it was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Like it's just like you said. It's just lazy journalism that's the low hanging fruit. They're publicly state owned and stuff like that. And it pisses me off that bad. But I've got to a point now where you just sort of laugh at them and go, look, I know what you're doing. You're just doing it for reactions, for clicks, for content. Keep your bosses happy that you're getting clicks and your advertisers are getting looks and views, and that's all it is now. But we might get to the stats actually, because they're always fun to look at. Possession, 57%. I think it was probably higher than that at halftime because they barely had the ball. I think we just sort of, like you said, Dimmy, earlier, we just sort of went into cruise control and managed the game for that second half. 25 shots, Jack. Did you say that was a season high?
I think it was, yeah.
Just say yes. Just say yes.
Yeah, it was a season high.
Yeah.
It was a season high for any club.
Yeah. For everyone, in the world, actually. 8 shots on target, 5 off target, 12 blocked. I think we had that one in the second half. It pinballed about 4 times, and they looked like, I think Byrne had a crack. I thought Gordon was
Longstaff. I think Longstaff blocked one. Burns' header was goal bound, and Longstaff was just in the wrong position at the wrong time.
Yeah, I was sort of upset. I thought Gordon was played in. He's going to get his first goal, and I think Foster's quad might have just nicked it and sent it wide, which would have been great for him to get off the mark in a game like that. It's just a smashing all around, isn't it, Jeff?
Well, we had 6 shots after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was like the stats back up what we saw on the pitch. But 25 shots in a game against a supposed, decent team, although the fans will tell us they're not decent. But that many shots against a team that generally defends deep. Yeah, it says it all. Yeah.
Dimmy, anything that tickles your fancy on these?
Yeah, I just want to say the XG wankers were right again. Obviously, there was going to be a turn of luck, and there was going to be one game where every chance goes in. As you can see, there was 5 clear-cut chances, and we scored 6 goals. So eventually, one of those games was going to happen, and thank goodness for us, it was in a massive game, an important game against Spurs. But the more times you have a crack, and the more times you create chances, the better odds are going to be that you're going to eventually score. So the goals are starting to flow for us, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I can.
Has anyone checked on Hugo? Has anyone checked on Hugo Lloris?
Hugo, he's all right.
Is he in hospital or something? Is he in hospital or something?
There was a missing person.
He's got a bruised ego.
The Northumberland police had put the missing person report out to try and find him. I did. I just want to mention I did deliberately source a stats page that didn't have XG on there just to wind you two up, and I knew that you'd know it anyway, so I didn't have to. I didn't have to find one with it on. We'll jump to the table now. That actually bumped us up to third prematurely. Obviously, Man United played the FA Cup semi-final against Brighton, so they've got a gaming hand on us. But I think more importantly for us, it puts us 2 games and clear of Spurs with another game in hand, who are 5th. I'm not sure about you two guys. I'm not really bothered if it's 3rd or 4th. I don't care as long as it's the Champions League spot. So we have been bouncing this around a fair bit in our group chat the last sort of week, and I was reluctant to participate given the game we had on the weekend and stuff like that. But who are our main threats for the top four for the last sort of 7 games for us anyway? Dimmy?
Well, you probably have to think Brighton or Liverpool, to be honest. Brighton, just because they've got the games in hand and they've been a pretty decent team all season. They do have a very difficult run in, so that might preclude them. But I mean, Liverpool's always there. They've got 7 games to go. So I mean, if you think best case or worst case scenario for us, they win 7 games, that gets them to 71 points. From that position, we only need another 12 points in. 12 wins is not. No, we don't need 12 wins, but 12 points from
inevitable.
From 7, yeah, exactly. 12 points from 7 games, which on our average points per game total, that should be a shoo-in for us.
Yeah, Jack, who's your biggest dangers to our Champions League hopes and aspirations?
I think it's Liverpool, to be honest. They could easily go and win 7 games because they've done it before. They did it a few seasons ago in the COVID season where they got in the Champions League. They've got West Ham away, I think, midweek, and that's probably their hardest fixture left on paper. But they've been inconsistent all season, so I think I'd feel a lot better if they just drew a game and dropped some points.
Yeah.
I think that they could get to 71. Villa have got hard fixtures, so I think that they'll probably drop off. They can get to 69. I've been thinking about this obsessively for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Brighton can get to 76, but they've got really quite hard fixtures and they've got to come to St James's. So I basically think if we win the next 2 games, I think that we're as good as there. I think if we can win 4 more games, it's going to be hard for anybody to catch us.
So you've obviously done the sums. Apart from us, who did Brighton play who were above them? Can you remember?
They've got Man United at home, which is one of their games to catch up, one of the games in hand. And they've got Villa away on the last day of the season.
Yeah, so that's handy for us then that they're going to play 2 teams that are potentially trying to take our spot as well.
I think they've got Man City as well away at home. So they've got a very difficult run in Brighton, and maybe with them getting knocked out of the cup, that might just not burst their bubble, but sort of give them a bit of a downer in the last sort of month and a half, 2 months of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fascinating run in the last 7 games. I think they're going to drag. To be honest, it's going to be an absolute torturous 7 games.
I'm
man
stressed.
of the match. Yeah.
I'm stressed.
Oh, your hair's out. Yeah, no, all your hair's gone. I can tell.
Even more of it's gone. Yeah. No, it's really.
Have you gone for the Dimmy? Have you?
Hey. How many times do we have to say this? I optionally choose to shave my head. Optionally choose. I've got plenty of hair.
Oh, come on. Jesus Christ. It looks like a par 3 on top of there.
It's funny now though with battling to get in the Champions League, because we've obviously been in situations before with relegation where we've needed points, but usually by that time, like, I've kind of checked out and I just don't care anymore. I hate all of the players. I hate the staff. I hate the owners. I just don't care. Like, I've resigned myself to it. But this time it's like, I absolutely love everybody like they're a member of my own family. Yeah. And I'm so desperate. And even though 5th or 6th would be a fantastic season at the end of the day, because we're so close now, I'm so desperate for this and I really, really want it. So I'm watching other teams' games with just as much interest and passion as I am Newcastle games now. And it's a stressful feeling, but it's also a good feeling because it's for something good. So I'll be pleased when the season's over, to be honest, or when we're another few games down, so we know where we're standing. But yeah, it's absolute beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah, I the same as you, Jack. I love everyone at the club now. I love Serena because she's an Aussie. I love Eddie. I love Mad Dog. I love Graham Jones around after every game, sort of gets someone with his arm around him and whispers some sweet nothings. I love the bloke, the staff member. He looks like Federico Fernandez. I love him. I love them all. Dimmy, man of the match. You could go first, mate. Who got your 3 votes?
very difficult one to say. It was an all-star performance from everybody, but I think I'm going to have to give it to. Mate, let's give it to Jacob Murphy. I mean, he started the party. He scored 2 goals in the first 9 minutes. I think he's worked very hard this season, like you said, and he's probably deserved a couple more goals just because of his work rate and team ethos. So I don't think he'll ever get a man of the match again, but just because of that, let's give him the man of the match.
Jack, where are your 3 votes going?
Well, Joe Willock should be in the England squad because of that assist, but he's not going to get man of the match. He's not going to get man of the match, which is ridiculous again, really. But I think overall it was such a strong team performance. I think Joe Linton was brilliant, Murphy, but Bruno was back to his best. I saw his heat map, and there's literally just red all over, and it's evenly spread all over the pitch as well. So when he ticks, when he's on form, he's just everyone else ticks and the whole team plays well. So he didn't get a goal or he didn't get an assist, but he just ran everything. He dominated the midfield, and I think when that happens, we play well. And when he's not playing, we generally don't play well. Yeah. He's that important, and so I think Bruno was man of the match, back to his best.
Yeah, nice. I actually thought Joe Linton was very similar to the Bruno what you just spoke about, except he scored, but yeah, he was in everything. He just I don't know, maybe it's hard to tell from that camera angle because they're both sort of tan skin and peroxide hair. It's hard to tell maybe which one's which sometimes, but yeah, I thought he was huge. Just his presence and the way he just won the ball back so often for us in the midfield, and we could start our attacks from inside our own half was really key to them early goals. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is one of the hardest podcasts I've ever had to prepare for because there was so much that happened, and it was really, really hard to prioritize what's more important, what's going to be cooler to talk about, what's more fun to talk about than something else. Because, like I said, it was 90 minutes of just shit going on everywhere, and you didn't know where to look or what to think. So, just to finish with, I'll give you both an opportunity to bring something up that you took out of the game, because whatever we've just spoken about cannot do the game justice at all. So, Jack, what do you want to talk about? How did you feel during the game? What sort of moved you during that 90 minutes?
Well, the thing that will stick in my mind from this is the assist. That's the thing that's really going to... I've talked about it already, but that's what I'm really going to remember about this, because it was so special. But I just think the whole thing was just historical. It just felt so monumental to take a team apart like that. I think to show the character to come back from that Villa defeat as well, which I think was an anomaly. I think the stats would suggest that was a one-off and that it wasn't going to happen again. But to actually go out and put into practice the comeback from that. But I think when we look back at this game in future years, or when we do season reviews, this will be the one, I think, because of the scoreline, because of what happened. I just think it's going to be a game that we're just going to remember forever. Well. The opponent, and this is what's it epitomizes what this team is about when it's at its best. And yes, Spurs were terrible. They are a shambles, but a lot of that, as is often the case, was to do with the way we played, and we just put our foot on their neck and just didn't let up until halftime. And it was just, that's what I'll remember. But I just want to talk about after this podcast, I'm going to go and watch the assist again another 40, 50 times.
I've got a question without notice, Jack. So if it's a shit question, I apologize because I've just thought of it too. Would you, after all you've just said, could you say that the game last night was the modern day version of the Man United game, when the Entertainers Man United game? Where just, you know what I mean? Like, so everyone remembers
Man United,
the result, the Philippe Abbe goal. Like, so it was a massive result. Everyone's going to remember the Willock assist and how that was as well. Do you think that could be our modern day version of that game?
I think because Man United was so good and they were our main sort of rivals at that time and they were the champions, I think that's a bit different. The one that it reminded me of was the Aston Villa game where we beat them 5-1 or 6-1. No, 6-0 or whatever it was. back in 2011, I think it was. That was the one that reminded me of where we just took apart what on paper is a decent team. But that that was early season. I think it was unique, this game. I think it'll really stand out on its own as a memorable game for all sorts of reasons that we've talked about. So I think it'll be on its own. It's the best performance of the Eddie Howe era by some distance. And we got the goals to back up the quality of the performance. Like when we played Man United this season, we said, "Oh, it could have been 5, could have been 6." Well, this time it was 6, and that's what you want to see. You want to see you put your chances away, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, great. You could have just said it was a shit comparison. I wouldn't have taken offense to that. Dimmy, is there anything you want to talk about out of the game that we haven't covered off already that moved you?
We've covered most of it. I think the one thing that I'll remember is probably the facial expression of Murphy after the third goal, because that was the moment that I also took my shirt off and I was making a similar face. So it was definitely a moment to remember.
Yeah, and Mrs. D quickly telling you to put the shirt back on and
pull
your head in. All right. I think we could talk shit like this for the next 4 hours, and it would go so quick, because it was just one of them days where, like I said, so much happened that there's so much you could talk about and extrapolate and expand on. But I think we'll leave it there. We've done an hour, and an hour's absolutely rocketed through. Thanks for the opportunity, guys, to talk about this. I'm sure we've all got family members at home who are sick of hearing us and showing them, look at this on our phones and shit, when they don't really care that much about it. So it was good to actually get together with some like-minded people, and we could express ourselves in a public forum about our love and our joy and our jubilation for what happened last night. So, Jack, thanks for jumping on, mate. Pass on our thanks to Mrs. S for allowing you to get on for an hour tonight to revel as well. So I thank you for your time.
No worries. I was actually showing the highlights to her earlier on, and she's a Newcastle fan as well, like not as mad as me, obviously. And she's a little bit hormonal, and she teared up a little bit at Jacob Murphy's reaction to his goal. So yeah, she was. I think that's why she's let me on as well. She was quite pleased about that. So yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure. And like I said, I'd have felt really upset if I'd missed this one. So yeah. Thank you, Keegan.
Yes, Dimmy. Thanks for joining us, mate. I know you've been a bit busy today, doing nothing with your day off. For those of you who are still with us, you can see his Twitter handle here. Him and Elon had a bit of beef, and he cancelled his account. So he's fired up the burner. So he's ready to accept new followers. So Dimmy, shout out your Twitter, mate. Just so people can for our audio
audio listeners, it's Mitchell Bora 14, MITCHOBOURA 14. It's me and Elon obviously didn't seem eye to eye about a few of my posts, which weren't derogatory, weren't inflammatory. I don't know what that bloke's doing, but that's the story for another day. It's need to build the followers up. So get following, and let's interact about this wonderful, wonderful club of ours.
That's it. He took you down quicker than one of his spaceships. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks everyone for watching, listening, however you're consuming our podcast. Like I said, off the top, give us a like and a comment. We love interacting with everyone. We love the feedback. We love talking everything about Newcastle United. Craig will be back in the next couple of days with a big Everton preview, I think with Mark as well. So stay tuned for that. But for all of us now, thank you very much. Thanks for listening, and take care of yourselves. See you, boys.
See ya.